Artists Marie Watt and Cannupa Luger often call on others in the making of their artwork. The result is a layered sense of community. But now at the Peabody Essex Museum, they've come together themselves. There is a she-wolf at the Peabody Essex Museum. Angular and alert, she is strength. With large round eyes, she is warmth. And with a pelt of bandanas, embroidered with messages from people all over the world, she is all of us.
Each one of those bandanas, in handling them, it's almost like visiting with a person.
There's something really nice about being able to hold and carry the weight of our togetherness.
Artists Marie Watt and Hanska Luger are the two Indigenous artists who came together themselves to create the SheWolf. Titled Each Other, it was constructed in a Portland, Oregon studio during the pandemic. And as you began to collaborate, what was that process like?
You know, it was initially a little bit like maybe like a blind date. I mean, I think that both Cannupa and I are artists in which we share kind of social engagement in our practices.
Much of what you see here is the work of many hands, the result of each artist's invitation for people to step forward and help, from expressing themselves on bandanas to sharing biography in blankets.
I did contribute a blanket that was gifted to me by one of my best friends from college when I had my son.
Karen Kramer is a contributor to Watt's Blanket Stories Sculptures. She's also the show's co-curator. Everything we find here, she says, is part of a robust dialogue the artists have with their audience.
There is a current of activism that is running through each object in the exhibition, and then there's also a sense of activeness that the artists are engaging between the viewer and the artwork. So there's this sort of feedback loop that's happening.
In Watt's sculptures that reach to the sky like totem poles, she layers individual stories in these blankets. They're poignant, she says, for being the objects that wrap us both when we enter the world and when we leave it. In other work, Watt convenes regular sewing circles, where words exchanged end up embroidered.
I like to say I set the table, and then what's created in that space is created by everybody sitting down and sharing in conversation.
In her work titled Companion Species, Watt contemplates what the world would look like if we placed ourselves on the same plane as animals.
I was listening to Marvin Gaye's What's Going On.
Mother, mother, there's too many of you cry.
The very first call, of course, is mother, mother. But then I started thinking about how, if the call continued beyond brother, brother, sister, sister, asking this question about how we're related and knowing that there's always going to be difference in the world, but figuring out those places where we can come together.
I'm here today to show everyone out there who's willing to watch how to build mirror shields for the people who are protecting the water at Standing Rock Reservation.
Standing Rock and the protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline is where Hanska Luger brought people together in 2016 as part of his Mirror Shield project. The shields both protected protesters from the water sprayed on them in frigid temperatures and forced the police wielding water hoses to face themselves.
I was like, it needs to be able for anybody to make. And so I made a video of how to create, put it out using social media platforms, and the response from the public surprised me. And I think by creating these sorts of prompts, it allows the population to move towards accomplice versus just an ally, versus just sending thoughts and prayers.
He used social media again for this sculpture, asking people to send him clay beads for the creation of a portrait honoring missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, queer, and trans relatives. There are more than 4,000 beads here.
Letters would come in with the beads. In these cases, stated, we've made you 15, 16 beads. One of the beads represents my sister, one of them represents my mom, my auntie, so there was a cathartic experience in the process of creating a prompt for people to participate that is greater than being a number.
This is all why Luger considers the word art not a noun, but a verb.
It's not about the object, it's about the process. And the process is held not in museums, but in the minds and in the muscles of the people who make the work.
And Marie Watt points out that, in fact, in Indigenous languages, there is no word for art at all.
If we look back far enough into our communities, we'll see where this expressive compulsion is a part of what it means to be human.
Like how we can be inherently drawn to the belly of a she-wolf whose DNA we can all recognize.